Good morning from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well. Sending loads of love to you all as usual. Now, I'm going into Yummy Dardy land this morning, right? So forgive me if there's a few twists and turns and a couple of things that are not in the right place. But we're talking cold-hearted killers, natural-born killers. In that respect, where I say you're just born to kill. You know what I mean? I'm going to do this the best way that I can. And also we talk about the other killers. We know that a lot of the kids, you're not cold-hearted killers, really. You're good little souls, but you're lost in the wilderness, right? Yours is based on peer pressure and the postcode thing and being disrespected and all that. It does a set of moral rules that really, in reality, don't exist. And one of those days, you're going to look at those rules like I did and think you're going to tear it up and go, it didn't mean nothing. Uncle Yami tells you today what it all means. We start with deZoyna, right? He just got to spend the rest of his life without getting out, right? Stipulated by the judge for killing a policeman in the line of duty in a police cell in Croydon. Nick Healy, quite clearly, you asked me. Uncle Yami tells you the difference. Clear to me that he left his house with the intention of going on a murder spree. Looks to me that he wanted to be a martyr. So there's a cause of some kind behind the method of his thinking. He gets stopped and blah, blah, we've gone over that bit already. His last chance of fulfilling what he set out to do was in that police cell. So that would have been the thought when he was getting into the car, when, you know what I mean, they missed it, you know what I mean? It's not the first time they've missed weapons, Gregor, Dale, and whatnot. There's been others when there could have been possibly human, nature, frailty. You know what I mean? That sometimes you just can't get it right all the time, but you're gonna have to get it right in the end, trust me. So he gets to do that. So that's for a cause in his mind, a bit of mental unstableness there, but a cold-hearted killer. Yeah, because your intention is solely and purely to take lives, mate. Right, so you're never ever to come out. Then Nick Healy, the difference between some of those other cases where police have died is because, I believe, and they didn't get natural life, right? Maybe because the legislation's changed now, you're getting longer sentence for all kind of murders now. You're out anyway, right? But the reason why some of the men that I know with the killing of policemen is because I believe that when they left their house that day, it wasn't their intention to shoot a policeman, but because they wanted to shoot someone else or rob something else, or, they're in some kind of fight, and their actions for that leads to a policeman getting killed. But it wasn't the real intention. So I think the only way that I could answer that would be about that, yeah? That's I think the reality of it falls into that category, right? Now, cold-hearted killers, I've been around them all my life, right? There's a difference. I'll explain it to you. Let me tell you something. Slaney, Nelson, Gary Nelson, right there. Tony Argent, people that have been convicted. When you look in their eyes, you're not seeing the depths of hell. You ain't. They're not, I wouldn't say cold-hearted killers. Maybe some of the things, allegedly, if it is that way, when you look at them, I don't know all the facts, but, we can't speak on behalf of people that are innocent, of course. But I'm telling you about when I look into certain individuals' eyes, I looked into Victor's eyes. It's a cold-hearted killer, I'm afraid. I've got to say that, boys. You know what I mean? Belfield, you could quite clearly, when you look at him, see that. You know what I mean? It's blank and it's dead and it's da-da-da-da-da. Some of those other names that we talk about as well, blah, blah. With men that I just mentioned, there's love in their eyes for certain things. It's not a camouflage, it's a facade, because I was around them too long to see it. They're just like me and you that could get angry on a moment and switch. Yeah? Not actual killers because they got empathy and sympathy. And I don't believe, I won't say that bit. But that's with the cold-hearted killers, right? Let me tell you, the other day, I was watching a documentary or not film, where they're talking about crimes, right? 3 guys went on a robbery of a store where you're going to take money from the float over the tills and that, right? I've jumped over them counters before without a weapon, right? 3 of them go in. They lay 3 members of staff down. They get all the money. They put it all in their hand. They gave it up easy. There wasn't no struggle or fight or whatever. Nothing. They're scraping up the money, panic thing. But you got your money, right? What you set out to do. One of them decides to come back as they're leaving to put one in all 3 of their nuts. Whoa. I was watching it, right? And I've met men like this before. When I looked into his eyes, I've seen that look before, You know what I mean? A cold-hearted killer, so unnecessary, because you only come out for the money. But yeah, they're down, kneeling down, not even looking at you, nothing. You got everything you wanted, and you just decided to blow them all away. You end up with a death penalty, man. That's the cold-hearted killer. Some of those guys, when you're around these killers, there's all these different forms and formats to the analyzations from me over a lifetime of it. I think, how did he do that? It's not like that. You know what I mean? Certain. But then others that we speak about recently, the pitchforks and that. The discrepancies, Nick Healy, what you talk about with the police and why isn't it a natural life and blah, blah, blah. Uncle Yami tells you today that if you kill a child and make child for your desires and motivation is solely for that, and you can't be released ever again. How can you? And you're not letting out the Slaneys of this world and other people that, could be rehabilitated and give them a chance. You gave all other people a chance. But for the real ones where you've got to do, it's too many inconsistencies. You cannot let out people that do those things because it's in you to do that. Quite seen on my man's recall with that behaviour. It never leaves you. Remember I told you this. We're going to go over some of those cold hard cases soon. And I love, in my heart of hearts, you lot, you need to really get a grip and a standard set thing for certain things, and we're going to break it down probably on a live on Sunday, right? But the kids, you lot are running around doing the postcode thing and, the disrespect and all that, and I'd shank him and that kind of stuff, right? Until you're phased, because you are lost in the wilderness, right? You're doing it out of peer pressure. So you score some points among the so-called big leaders who ain't doing the same thing as you, because you're the ones that are showing you got the bottle to do that. But again, most of those murders, those postal murders, are unnecessary. You didn't need to go all the way. And I never knew that all my life I spent in there, right? And the victims, when you take a life, it's very, very serious because it's you and them. All right, we know that there's going to be battles, 1-on-1. You both got knives. One of you's going to die, right? Or both of you. Right, one's going to go to prison for life and that. You got to live with that, right? But the victims of all these things, when you're doing your thing, they're the ones that have to suffer. So it's more than one murder in reality. So the life sentences are sorry, boys, for the smallest ones. If it's unnecessary, uncalled for, and there was another way of doing it, whether you got the thinking skills or not, it's not a defense. The effect of leaving of the most hurtful thing for any human being is to lose someone they love close to them. And some of you would have faced that feeling before in our places of where we live, in these hostile areas where loss of life has become all too easy. Yeah. You would have felt that. Your mum's already felt that for somebody close to you already. So you'd have had a feeling what it's like. So then you do it and then they've got to feel the same thing as you. But there's the hurt. You know what I mean? We go over certain cases where mums and things are campaigning, when they lost their sons and their daughters and their children and that at the hands of monsters, basically. In reality, they've got to suffer for the rest of their life because they can't get over those things. And that's what I said to you about child killing. The the victim's parents, they're not going to, how are you going to get over that? Forever and a day, but yet you're thinking of releasing them? No way. Jose, I'm after you. I'm being serious, man, this morning. Know your place. You lot, the kids, you will find out exactly what I found. When you do them actions based on bravado and the people pleasing, I want to be, when one time I was in the Old Bailey getting sentenced, right? I was standing up there and I was supposed to get a 7 or 8, right? Because the one co-defendant I ever had, right, he switched on me. I ain't going to go into it, and he got 7 or something. But I was in court 3 at the Bailey, and I put my head down, right? There's Miss Perlman, her name was, right? Justice Perlman. I said, oh, you know what, she's going to give me a little squeeze. When she broke down what I did on those crimes, I never ever looked at it like that. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Every single day we were alone. You robbed them, you were swaggering, you was giving, I'll rob you, the words so cocky and blah, blah. When she hit home, you know what? Every word that she said, I had my head down and I was going, yeah, you was. You know what I mean? And when you hear those words, you know, when you stand up in those courtrooms, it's going to hit home. Because you don't, I understand that some of you don't know, like your actions of what you're actually doing and putting people through is that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Is there a case for learning rehabilitation because you never knew? Yes, there is for that because you never knew. You're not no cold-hearted killer if you don't know the effects of what you're doing. You know what I mean? We sympathise with that. But I'm telling you, I got the 12, 13 years, right? I served it all, yeah. But I was thinking, well, just for them crime, but hold on, and he got 8 and he got 6. No. You know what I mean? The way, you know what I mean? You set about doing it. That's the serious of how far they can take crimes that you think are not that serious to you either. I got buried, but, you know, rightly so in later life. What you did, Yam, was horrible, mate. You know what I mean? And I never killed no one during any of my crimes on the out, right? Never, apart when I was a kid, but that doesn't fall under that as far as I'm concerned. That I didn't do that. But in reality, when you go and you're in the pond and you look into those eyes, I met some Jamaicans, I met some Russians, I met some Bieber. He's a cold-hearted killer, right? But wanker, just like Belfield. Wanker, Victor weren't no wanker, right? He's not a wank. Victor never took. Anyway, yeah, listen, I don't want to say too much today because I'm going to do more on this kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, when you're in the pond and you're going to find out who you think you are, you're not. Because the levels to this thing for the cold-hearted, stonewall killers that leave a house and shoot a mum and his daughter and no feelings whatsoever, you're going to face them on the landing and you'll be out your league, trust me. Sorry about the babble, but I think you get what I mean.